I think we're talking about two of the best light heavyweights of all time.
The best fight in boxing. The best two light heavyweights in the world fighting for every single belt.
Whoever wins this fight come October 12th is in a great argument to be called the best light heavyweight we've ever seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Artur Beterbiev.
Dmitry Bivol.
Beterbiev goes to work. Big right hand. Uppercut. Overhand right.
Nice work there from Bivol. Good right hand. Followed up. A lot of punches, and he's going to go down here.
I think my fight with Beterbiev did take something out of him.
There's a hook. There's an uppercut. Beterbiev's on the attack. Look at him go. Oh, my word, Bivol.
Beterbiev has been down 3 or 4 times already. Usually the weakness in the strong punches is they don't take as good as they give.
An unbelievable fight, a fight for the boxing purists. Probably the best fight in boxing right now.
This is a fight that, for me, can only be an all-time classic.
Yeah, it should be an absolutely fantastic showdown, that one. Beterbiev versus Bivol, 2 unbeaten fighters. They'll be putting it all on the line to decide who is numero uno in the 175-pound division. You probably heard Roy Jones Jr. there and Spencer Oliver just at the end of that package. We're going to be joining, they're going to be joining us, a bit later from Texas. There is a UK versus USA showdown. Roy Jones, the captain of the US team, and Spencer Oliver, the captain of the UK team. Darren Barker in studio, mate? In the flesh. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah?
Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, man. You want to get your questions into Darren Barker. You've got a lot of fans on talkSPORT, by the way. A lot of fans. You want to get your questions into Darren Barker, text us 810 809. All the good ones, please. Leave the bad ones out of the way for this. Excited about getting out to Saudi again?
Always.
Yeah?
Always. And especially for this fight.
Yeah.
I think in the trade, you would have to say the fight that everybody wants to see. I remember when it was first cancelled, we were devastated. Absolutely gutted. But I'm so thrilled that it's back on, and this is as big as it gets, as good as it gets for me personally. You know, I've been very fortunate to be ringside and commentate on some massive fights I never dreamt I would, and there's always a buzz for me personally. Yeah. But for this will take some beating for me. The energy, I'm just trying to fast forward just before that first bell, or as they're making their ring walks in Saudi in the Kingdom Arena. I will be buzzing.
It's a shame, isn't it? Like, and not all the fights can get the same push or the same casual interest as a Fury Usyk or a, what was another undisputed one, Spence versus Crawford. And this doesn't have it. And it's a shame it doesn't have it because, look, both fighters don't really talk, do they? I mean, we've been around both. It deserves it. But you're right, in terms of the interest from the trade, right, in terms of the hardcore boxing fans, this is as big, if not bigger than those two. Like, people have been waiting for this one for a few years, and it's so different, and stylistically it's so different as well. It's such a good matchup that you ask 100 people, and I do think it's 50-50 split.
I'd agree. Yeah. I'd agree it's 50-50. It's massive. It's so good. It is in that kind of ilk, as you said, those caliber of fights. I mean, look, Fury Usyk, the fact that it was for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, the first
tops
one
it,
in the 20-odd years, tops it. But this, for styles, for what is on the table, for the fact that we've been waiting for this for a long time. They have history in the Russian amateur team. It's so good.
You know, my only fear with this is Beterbiev suffered a ruptured meniscus in May, which basically, if you get that in football, it puts you out for the season. You're done, aren't you? Really, you're in trouble. Here we are in October, and I'm like, can he really be fully healed, or is it just a case of, with Riyadh season, the money's so big, the opportunity's so big, even if you're not 100%, you say you are just because you want to be on that card. Do you know what I mean? Like if a doctor was to look at Beterbiev, I think they'll say to him, you really should be out until the end of the year, or maybe start of next year. I almost feel like he's rushing back because he almost has to rush back. That's my only concern. I'm not taking away from what will be a special occasion, but I just feel like, are we rushing Beterbiev back because that's the date? You want to open Riyadh season, that's the date for you. Are you going to be ready? Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying there. To be honest, I I think he's as hard as nails.
You know,
and he will probably heal quicker than most.
Probably broke it back himself, didn't he? Like just,
yeah. So if he says he's ready, he's ready.
Yeah. No. I just hope he is, though. What I don't want to see is, or I don't want to come at the end of the fight is, and I don't think he would do it, but I don't want his team to say, okay, he was rushed back. I don't want that. Do you know what I mean?
don't think there'd be any excuses. They're probably both proud men, and they'll both be in there. Probably neither of them 100%, if I'm honest. And tell me any boxer that goes in there 100%.
You know more than I do on that.
Yeah, you're always managing injuries. It's the hurt business. You're trying to hurt your opponent. You know, your sparring partners. Everything about this sport is hard. You're putting your body through hell.
Let alone the way they train. You watch Beterbiev, the way he trains. It's ridiculous. See that thing he does with the 20 kilo,
it's frightening.
Yeah, barbell.
I can't do that with a toothpick. Yeah, but it's nuts. The man's a machine. So if he says he's fit, he's fit.
Who's the favourite?
Look, again,
favourite. So not who you think's going to win.
Chats, we've had these chats, and we did something recently, a round table chat, and I said, and this isn't my prediction. We'll get onto that later, but I think the bookies would have Beterbiev favourite.
Okay.
I think when you destroy every single one of your opponents in the fashion that he has, you have to be favourite. When you prove that you're not just a puncher early, you carry your power late, you deserve to be favourite.
Yeah.
Look, I think 3 of his stoppages, two 10-round stoppages, a 12-round stoppage.
Wow.
He carries his power late. So you would have to have him favourite, I think, ever so slightly. But this has been referred to as Ball v Matador. And any good Matador, all Matadors, they hold their ground. They don't run. And that's why I think this fight's going to be so good, because the feet of Bivol are exceptional. But he's not going to run. He's not going to, be legging it round the ring.
No. There is no fear in Bivol.
No, absolutely not.
But should there be?
To a degree.
Like, if you were advising him, would you say to him, get on your feet or your bike a little bit?
It's not even a little bit. What he does so well is he takes the space away from you. He makes you miss by fractions, and that allows him to fire back with the counters so quickly. If you take too much of a step back, you're not going to get back quick enough to be able to land the shots. He's so good. He's in and out. He's in and out. But he will do that. He'll try to do that from the centre of the ring, but he won't get bullied. He won't get pushed into the corner and battered like most think he will. He'll move around. He'll try and spin Beterbiev off and get to work. It's such an intriguing fight. There's so many variables to how this fight can be won and lost for both, which makes it a special contest.
You know what scares me about this very quickly is that I feel like there's going to be a point where he has to stand and trade.
Just quickly, when you say scared, because you're a massive Bivol fan,
Bivol
got about 15.
Got the tattoo.
You got everything.
Tattoo on my back, everything. Yeah, tattoo.
Right, so you're clearly Team Bivol.
Clearly Team
right,
Bivol.
Okay.
There's no two ways about it. So what scares me for Bivol is that there's going to be a point where he's going to have to stand and trade, because doing that for 12 rounds.
Why?
I don't know if he can do that for 12 rounds against Artur Beterbiev. I don't know if he can. I've watched these fights, and not many fighters back up Bivol. I've watched it. Even Canelo didn't. After 4 rounds, thought, I can't back you up. Even Zerdo didn't. Beterbiev's going to back you up for 12 rounds. And I think you've got to dent him a little bit so he doesn't try and back you up.
You can be dented with footwork. You can be dented by missing. There's other ways to be doing it. And it sounds like I'm really pro Bivol here. Yeah. But I'm just making a case for him off the back of me saying that the bookies will probably have Beterbiev favourite. But like I say, so many variables here, so many ways that this fight could be won and lost. And I wouldn't be shocked. And that's what makes it so good. That's why the place is going to be, buzzing for that first bell. Yeah. Knowing that anything could happen.
And I think you're right. That's what makes it so special. That's what we're all very, very excited about it. So, Roy, I want to get your take on the big undisputed light heavyweight showdown. Not necessarily who do you think's going to win, but who do you think would have caused you the most problems out of those two?
I think Bivol would have been the biggest problem. Oh, well, actually, I'm going to say this. I think it would have been 50-50. Bivol, because of his boxing skills and his feet, he would have been a difficult task because he's not as easy to catch as people think he is because of his mobility with his legs. But at the same time, Artur, with all the puncher power he has, Artur is like one of the hardest punchers that the division has ever seen. So With Arthur being as hard of a puncher as he is, you'd have to always keep that in mind and be very careful of how you deal with him. You can't just let him hit you with freak shots like normal people can. He's a different type of puncher. So he would have been a problem in one way, although I think I would have got him quicker than I got Bivol, but Bivol would have been a problem in another way. So they both would have been different. I just think that I would have got Arthur probably a little quicker than I would have got Dmitry.
But there's no way Bivol could outsmart Jones Jr. in his day. No way.
That's what I say. But he would have lasted a long time because, like you say, in the first fight, Montreal Griffin was a counterpuncher. So it was hard to catch up to him because he wouldn't come at me much. Bivol fights more like that too. So you got to go at him. You understand me? So I would have got to him, of course, but he would have been took a little bit more time. Whereas Arthur coming, he gonna bring it right to my front door, which is what I love.
Yeah, right to my front door. I love it.
Roy, changing the subject very quickly. We were talking about sparring very briefly and who the hardest person I sparred with, you know, some of the hardest spars I had. For you, what was the toughest sparring partner you ever had?
The best sparring partner I think I've had was Lindell Holmes. I used to spar this guy named Lindell Holmes. He was a former IBF super middleweight champion, I think. And Lindell was from Michigan, from that Crunk area. And he was older than me, but he was really, really strong, like 34, 35. And he knew all the old Crunk gym tricks. He had been in the ring with everybody. He knew all the Crunk gym tricks. So I was able to learn a lot from him. He never beat me in that, don't get it wrong, but I was still able to learn a lot while dealing with him. It was a lot of times in the beginning, we would have kind of back and forth sparring, and it was kind of neck and neck. But for me, I feel like I was always far more busier because I was the younger fighter. So I thought I got the best of it most of the time. But he taught me more than anybody, and he was a very, very hard puncher too.
Roy, final question, and feel free not to answer this one. It is a difficult question, but you know what I just said? Like, if you were to have stopped after the Ruiz fight when you became heavyweight world champion, I think you would have gone down as the greatest of all time, right? Moving from a middleweight up into heavyweight. Do you ever sit back and think you should have called it quits then, or are you happy that you still did continue fighting? Like, you had some great fights after, but do you ever sort of sit back and think that you should have maybe called it quits then?
Every time I stop and think that, I say I should have stopped, but to me that's selfish because that's me stopping, denying the world that I still had other fights and better fights afterwards, fights in me that we would have not got to see. So I'm trying to protect my legacy and stop fighting. That's what I'm mad at people for doing now, not fighting other fighters, not fighting people at their prime. Yeah. So how can I stop and protect it just because I got enough done now to say, oh, I'm the greatest of all time? But if I did it in my prime, I still should be greatest of all time, shouldn't I? Because we're judged by our prime, not by what we do later on in our life. You understand me?
No, true. And that's why I said you are, for me, pound for pound, in terms of prime, the best fight we've ever seen.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.